Good day all, my name is Septian Immanuel Sinaga. My academic number is 2201030054. Now I want to explain my PPT about discourse analysis. There are 5 exercises, and the first exercise is find minimally 5 definitions of discourse analysis and write a list of main features of discourse analysis based on those definitions. And the answer is first, Brown and Yule, 1983. According to Brown and Yule, in discourse analysis in a concert with the analysis of language in use. Unlike sentence-level grammar, which focuses on the rules of language, discourse analysis goes beyond the sentence to study how utterance and text are organized, interpret, and relate to the communicative context. And the explanation is, Brown and Yule emphasizes that discourse analysis studies how people use language to convey meaning in real-life communication. The key idea is that meaning is not simply contained within words or grammar, but is shaped by social interaction, context, and shared knowledge. For example, sentence can have different meanings depending on the situation or tone of voice. And next, the second is from G 2014. James Paul G. in an introduction to discourse analysis. Theory and method defines discourse analysis as the study of language in use as it is embedded in social and cultural practice. And its explanation, G views discourse as more than just words or sentence. It's about the way language reflects and constructs social identity, power relation, and ideology. For him, discourse analysis explores how people use language to enact specific social roles, how communication is shaped by culture and context. Next, 3. Fairclough, 1992. Norman Fairclough, one of the founders of critical discourse analysis or CDA, defines discourse as a language as a form of social practice. According to Fairclough, discourse both shapes and is shaped by society. In other words, language is not natural, it reflects power relations, ideologies, and social structures. And the explanation is, Fairclough's approach emphasizes the critical dimension of discourse analysis. He argues that every discourse serves a social function, and that language use is inherently connected to issue of power and uniquely. For example, media language can reinforce stereotypes or legitimize certain political agendas. Okay, next, and question number 2 is, why do we study discourse analysis? Language is more than just a collection of words or sentences. It's the primary means through which humans create meaning, express identity, build relationships, and shape the world around them. Because language plays such a crucial role in every aspect of life, understanding how it works in real communications becomes essential. This is precisely the aim of discourse analysis. First, understanding language beyond grammar. One of the main reasons to study discourse analysis is to go beyond grammar and examine how language operates in real-life communication. Traditional linguistics often focuses on sentence structure, how words combine to form grammatical sentences. While this is important, it does not explain how those sentences are actually used to achieve goals in context. And the second, to interpret meaning in context. A second reason to study discourse analysis is to understand how context shapes meaning. The same words can convey different meanings depending on who says them, to whom, when, where, and why. For example, the phrase "nice job" can express praise, sarcasm, or disapproval depending on the tone and situation. And the third, to improve communication skills. Studying discourse analysis enhances one's communication skills, both in spoken and written forms. By learning how discourse is structured, individuals become more aware of how to organize ideas coherently, use cohesive device, and maintain appropriate tone and register. And the fourth, to understand power and ideology. Language is not natural, it can be used in influence, control, or manipulate. A major reason to study discourse analysis, especially critical discourse analysis or CDA, is to uncover how power and ideology are embedded in language use. For example, first, news headlines may frame protesters as rioters or freedom fighters, depending on ideological stance. And the second, political discourse may use inclusive language, we, our people, to create unity or division. And the third, gender discourse can reinforce stereotypes by portraying women as emotional and men as rational. And the fifth, to analyze social interaction, discourse analysis also help us understand how people interact in social situations. Human communication follows certain patterns, such as greetings, turn talking, feedback, and pertinence strategies. These interactional patterns are essential for maintaining harmony and understanding within society. Okay, and the third question is describe and give the example, the meaning, discourse analysis, and the use for the spoken and written. Okay, meaning of discourse analysis. The term discourse analysis refers to the study of language beyond the sentence level, emphasizing how language is used in real-life communication. Various scholars have defined discourse analysis from slightly different perspectives, but all highlight its focus on language use in context. According to Brown and Yule, 1983, discourse analysis is the analysis of language in use. This definition emphasizes that discourse analysis does not merely study language as a system of abstract rules, but as a living tool used by people in real communication events. And the second, Verloc, 1992, extends this understanding by stating that discourse is a form of social practice. For Verloc, language is not natural, it reflects and shapes power relations, ideologies, and social structures. First, the importance of context in discourse. Discourse analysis always considers context. The circumstances that influence the meaning of communication. Context includes first, the situational context, second, cultural context, and third, linguistic context. And the second, discourse analysis in spoken language. Nature of spoken discourse. Spoken discourse refers to the language that is produced and received orally. It's usually interactive, dynamic, and context-dependent. Unlike written text, spoken communication often involves immediate feedback, body language, and shared situational knowledge between participants. Feature of spoken discourse. Some key characteristics includes first, tone-checking, and adjacency pairs, and fillers and hesitation markers, and intonation and stress, and then immediate feedback. Function of discourse analysis in spoken form is first to understand communication patterns and to analyze power relation, to identify politeness and face-saving strategies, to study cross-cultural communication, and to explore language acquisition through interaction. And why discourse analysis matters? Studying discourse analysis is important for several reasons. And the first reason is it helps us understand the relationship between language and society. And the second, it makes us aware of hidden meanings in ideologies in everyday communication. And the third is it improves our critical thinking and interpretive skills. And the fourth is it enhances language teaching and learning by focusing on real communication rather than isolated grammar. And the fifth is it supports intellectual understanding as it reveals how people from different backgrounds use language differently. Okay, the fourth question is a discourse analysis carries much more than its form. It also carries its own particular function. So now divide the difference between linguistic form and function and describe by giving example of the spoken and written language, sentence, and utterance. Language is not only a system of structures, symbols, and grammatical rules, but also a social tool used to express meaning, intention, and interaction. When we analyze language through the lens of discourse analysis, we recognize that language carries much more than its form. It carries functions. In other words, language is not merely what it looks like, but also what it does. First, understanding linguistic form. Linguistic form refers to the structure, shape, or grammatical appearance of language. It's what we see or hear. in terms of sounds, word, phrases, clauses, and sentence. Linguistic form belongs to the formal or structural side of language. According to Halliday, 1978, linguistic form is part of the lexicogrammar, the combination of vocabulary and grammar that serve as a resource for creating meaning. In other words, the form of linguistic expression is how it is constructed syntactically and morphologically. Example of linguistic form: first, phonological form; second, morphological form; and the third, syntactic form; and the last is lexical form. And the second, understanding linguistic function. Linguistic function refers to the purpose, meaning, or communication intention behind a linguistic form. It is concerned with what the speaker or writer intends to achieve through language, such as requesting, commanding, apologizing, promising, questioning, or informing. According to Jacobson, 1960, and later expanded by Halliday, 1970, language serves multiple functions, including first, informative or educational, and the second, interpersonal, and the last is textual. Example of functions: form, can you close the door? And the function is a request, not a question. Here the form of the utterance is interrogative, but its function is directive. The speaker is asking someone to perform an action. This is an excellent example how form and function differs in real communication. Third, the relationship between form and function. In discourse analysis, the relationship between form and function is dynamic and context dependent. We cannot determine a function solely based on the grammatical form. Instead, we must consider how is speaking, to whom, and in what situation, and for what purpose. So, in conclusion, linguistic form refers to the grammatical and structural aspects of language, the what of communication, while linguistic function refers to the communicative purpose, the why. Form exists in sentence, function exists in utterance. And the last question is: describe key role of context in interpretation, pragmatics, and discourse context, the text of situation. When a person says "it's cold in here," the literal or grammatical meaning of the sentence is description of temperature. However, depending on the context, it could function as a request, a complaint, or a casual observation. First, defining context. The term of context comes from the Latin context, meaning to weave together. In linguistic concept, refers to all the elements that are woven together with the language to create meaning. It includes not only the linguistic environment, the words and sentences surrounding an expression. Type of context. First, linguistic context, and the second, situational or extra-linguistic context. And the second, context in pragmatics. Pragmatics is the branch of linguistics that studies how people use language in its context to achieve communication. According to Leach, 1983, pragmatics deals with the relationship between linguists and its users, focusing on how meaning is shaped by situational factors. The role of pragmatic context. Pragmatics considers that speakers mean rather than what sentence mean. It studies how listeners intended meaning from contextual clues. For instance, utterance, can you pass me with the water? Literal meaning from a question about ability, and the pragmatic meaning function is a polite request. Okay, the text of situation or situational context. The term text of situation or context of situation was introduced by Malinowski, 1923, and later elaborated by Halliday and Hassan, 1985. It refers to the total environment in which a text or utterance occurs, including all the factors that influence its interpretation. Definition. According to Halliday and Hassan, the context of situation is the environment of the text that determines what is appropriate to say and how it should be said. It provides the situational variables that give the text meanings. The described context of situation through the key components known as the register variables. And the pragmatic and the text of situation, interaction between meaning and context. Pragmatics and situational context are closely linked because both focus on how language operates in real communication situations. In pragmatics, the meaning of an utterance depends not only on linguistic content but also on speech act, implicators, and presupposition, presupposition, all which rely on context. Speech acts and context. According to Austin 1962 and Shiri 1969, every utterance performs an act stating, requesting, promising, etc. Tone speak act, listeners must understand the context. For example, I promise I'll help you. The word promise signals a commissive act, but its validity depends. Okay, in summary, context is central to the interpretation of meaning. In language, without context, words and sentences are empty shells, where form without purpose or clarity. Pragmatic emphasizes how speakers use context to convey intended meaning, while discourse analysis explores how context organizes and connects language across large units of communication. The text of situation, as described by Halliday and Hassan, offers a systematic framework through feel, tenor, and mood for understanding how situational variables shape linguistic choices. Together, this perspective demonstrates that language is not autonomous but deeply embedded in social and situational realities. Understanding context is, therefore, the key to understanding communication itself, how we express, interpret, and share meaning in the intricate web of human interaction.